Hey, pool chasers. If you're a pool builder out there and you've ever worked alongside a general contractor or home builder and maybe had a bad experience, then you know that balancing that relationship can be a bit tricky. Same goes for the general contractors out there. Maybe you had to go through several pool builders before you found one that fit, or you might even still be looking for one. Our three guests today have found a way to respectfully work with each other and discuss many of their tactics throughout the episode. These are things that you should really be looking for if you choose to align yourself with a GC, pool designer, or pool builder. Not only that, but this conversation is great for anyone who is in the trade, as they discuss the best practices when working alongside others to finish a project on time and provide the best experience for the clients. We really thought that getting all three of them in a room would provide a great conversation, and boy were we right. So, without further ado, please enjoy episode 105.
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Viafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast.
All right, so today we have a great collaboration episode for you. We have Brad Leavitt of AFT Construction, Jeromey Naugle, Premier Paradise, and John Martese of On Demand Design Concepts. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us kind of how you all met?
Oh, it's a great story. So actually, Instagram is a big starter for hooking people up. I met Brad through Instagram, just his profile, and then personally met him through another, I don't know if he's still building pools or not, but a pool builder for his own personal pool. So from there, we just developed a really cool, good relationship outside of Instagram and all that stuff. So
well, it's amazing like 2 years. It's amazing how Instagram does that, right? I mean, you feel like you know someone through that platform, and you know, John and I had followed each other on that platform, built that relationship, became friends, and he had been telling me forever. He's like, "Hey, you need to meet Jeromey."
Yeah, for like 18 months. 18 months.
A year and a half, and then finally sat down. He's like, "You really need to call Jeromey. We need to get together." So we did that, and it's pretty much exploded since then. So
yeah,
you guys are all like big dogs on social media. Do you ever feel like oh, he doesn't know about me? He doesn't know about me? You know what I mean?
No, I mean it's funny because you know Instagram it's so up and down, and sometimes I take big breaks about you know just not posting stuff because I just sometimes you get burned out. I mean, but you got to stay on top of it. But I always follow these guys and see what they're doing, and that's really how it all really started with my relationship with Brad, and then you know Jeromey. I mean, we talked about that story before. It's just Facebook, 2015, I think. Who's this guy? What's he doing? And that's really where my relationship with Jeromey started. But hooking these guys up was like a huge goal for mine. I was courting Brad for like it was 18 months. I'm not serious. I'm not even lying. I'm like,
and there were some other things happening behind the scenes until that door opened. And you know the thing about social media, just kind of tag teaming off that, it's a connector, right? So social media, it's an easy way to connect to people all across the globe, and you know to kind of build those people that have the same mentality, kind of ethos, you know, mindset, and then it's also a way to get, you know, the creativity is great on there, but it's also just a way to understand how other people are building and doing processes. So that's one of the big advantages with it. And John, of course, is great in making that connection, being a connector for Jeromey and I.
Why did you actually finally, after so many months, actually just start talking to John and taking his advice on, you know, using Jeromey?
Well, the one thing I'll say is, it's similar on the building side. So I'm part of a Builder 20, right? It's a group of collaborators across the country where we share, you know, ideas and mindsets and techniques and other things. And I know John's part of one, you know, from a national pool builder design, you know, that he was involved in with Jeromey. And so is that mindset that, you know, that triggered something for me. Okay, so it's like-minded, you know, I understand what they're trying to do for the industry and make it better. And then for us, we had some other projects that are very complex, right? And so that was really important to get a partner in there that could understand the complexity of these projects and then make it happen.
Right. Yeah. And what did you think, Jeromey, when this was all going down? And, you know, John's probably super excited, like, dude, got this meeting hooked up. don't let me down. Please
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah. No, he wasn't a fan of the person that Brad was working with in the first place, so it was his mission.
It was.
And he kept telling me for a good year, so, a little over a year, that he was going to get me hooked up with Brad and AFT, and I at the time had told him I'm not even interested. I'm trying to get rid of home builders because I was with a good 6 to 8 home builders I was working with that just didn't understand the process. Didn't care about our equipment pads, didn't care about talking to us at the beginning of the project, and giving customers unrealistic budgets they expected us to meet just because, unlike Brad, where he gets numbers at the design stage, these people would just bid their own, the home designs they had with a simple placeholder and say, okay, we got $60,000 for a pool spa, and it's a $3 million house. So I was building a lot of projects that I wasn't fond of. Scheduling processes are terrible. Hey, we're closing on the house in 2 weeks. We need you to finish. And it's like, okay, well, I got a month and a half's worth of work out there. Where's the communication at? How come you guys aren't letting me know stuff? So I had a real bad taste in my mouth after 10 years of working with home builders, and actually was weeding them all out. And but then I followed some of Brad's stuff, and I think I told him I was going to take him out to lunch, but I was going to actually be interviewing him. John,
That's a Jeremy I know.
Yeah, John was just like, dude, take it easy, man. Brad's a really good guy, I promise. And so I
wasn't scared.
I could tell.
How much is he paying you, John?
Nothing, man. I was very fortunate because, like, I just made the connection, and then Jeremy was like, "You're coming too," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." I mean, I'm having lunch with 2 of my friends. This is gonna be cool.
Well, I had done my, I watched Brad on Instagram and looked at the companies and the things that he does and the way that he talks and the way he presents himself, and I could tell that it was a different type of meeting, and that it was going to be an opportunity if we decided to work together that would be good on both of us, great for me. And since John had initiated all that and he's a great designer, I figured, let's just keep it as a tight community with the 3 of us, and John, you go ahead and do the designs and get compensated for your time and efforts with that, and I'll just take care of building them and putting together the construction plans and bids for Brad so he can get his projects moving as quick as he needs to. And it's been working really good. And Brad already has a great design team with how he works with for his architects, so we get a lot of highly detailed plans coming in with not a lot of questions that need to be asked, like typical builder's plans. So they really do a lot of thinking on the forefront for us. Makes John's job easy to design and my job easy to bid.
Well, I think that's the problem. I mean, I'll say where we align is that from a builder side, a GC side, is that I think there's a lack of planning out there for most GCs, right? They, and it's really about setting expectations with the client. And we're really adamant from the very beginning that we get the job lead of our process and how it's going to go to permit, and, how that involves bringing in, the pool design, how it involves bringing in all of our suppliers and subcontractors and our architect and designer. And this kind of goes to our mindset as a company. I mean, we have a philosophy that, or I'll say, just an operating procedure that we won't work with the client unless they have an interior designer and an architect, right? That's a must no matter what. And to that point, we even lean on them to have a landscape architect, or at least have, our combo of John and Jeremy right in here designing the pool. You have to have those things because it allows us now to build more efficiently. It allows us to be more targeted in our approach, and allows us to be more accurate, right? And it all comes down to budget, as Jeremy mentioned. I mean, the problem is you have to think with the end in mind. We have to have a good, accurate budget for pool, we have for landscape, for automation, low voltage, and then all the way through furnishings, right? And it's really important to convey that to the customer.
Yeah, and even just adding on to that, but trying to get budgets for customers too, is when the pool is thought of at the beginning and they bring me in to talk to their clients, like I've done for a couple of Brad's clients. It gets them excited about the pool right away, but they get a budget too, and they're like, we're going to take some money out of this portion of the home in order to put it back into the backyard because this is more important for us here or there, rather than having a whole entire deal without a backyard locked in, and then they have this much money left over to spend on the pool. Because there are some areas that some people will give and take with different portions of the home. So I get some of Brad's money, but but it works out so a client's actually getting a completed project that they're happy with 100%. And maybe they didn't go with this fascia on the whole entire house, but they took some of it off here so they could add to a swimming pool. But it helps them feel comfortable as soon as the project's getting started, and then they're not going to deal with some pool guy after the fact who knows if they're going to get what they want for their budgets, and then they feel like they have to settle for something less than what they really want in their dream home.
Yeah, and it's super important. I mean, the one thing I'll say, I'm really fortunate to be surrounded by a good team, right? So when you're looking at this, when you're going into a client, it's really important that you're conveying to them, everyone has a budget. It doesn't matter at what level of spectrum they are. So you have to really understand what that budget is and then how that breaks down. Okay, here's our budget for the house at a square foot, budget, and we're going to allocate dollars to framing, to drywall, to tile, and so forth. But then we're also going to break it out to landscape and pool, right? And we have a good idea of the concept of the pool, so we need to have an accurate budget. And we have, 5-6 projects right now in design with John and Jeremy. And that's where it's really important that we have budgets, which Jeremy can get to us and that the customer can sign off and approve. And then from there, it's easy, right? It's easy to start putting everything together.
Right. And I'll go back a little bit because I think you three do this extremely well. You guys all have a social media presence and the social proof is real. And what I notice about all three of you is no matter what, you guys have some of the most well thought out descriptions of what you're looking at. It's one thing to just post a photo of a construction site and it's just yeah, we're working hard today. But you guys go into great detail in even you, Brad, in the Father's Day post. I was just reading that and about what you were saying about, what your father meant to you. I thought that was extremely moving. And all of your guys' recent posts, Jeremy, you are tagging all the right people. You really feel like you're in that backyard, you want to be sitting under one of your, custom features, or you want to watch the Super Bowl on one of the TVs coming out of the, watching this video. And I'm like, that's dope. And then I see a TV coming up out of the planter. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on here? But I think social media has it's been huge for the trades, because you guys are in the trade and you're actually getting to look at each other's pretty much resume, say on Instagram, and you're looking at the way they talk about these projects and the way that, you're dealing with different things. And I think there's never been a better way to describe social proof than for the way that you guys have used it and how we've used it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that you said that. I mean, the thing is, it's funny, most people on social media, they're, a lot of people are nervous that, hey, people are going to steal my creativity. They're going to steal my designs. They're going to steal my processes. But I always tell people they're not you. It doesn't matter. You put good content out there, put your systems and processes out there. And what I've found is our customers, we have a project now in Paradise Valley, Jeremy and I were working on. And the reason this customer has followed us is they're the one thing we love about you guys is that you put everything out there, for everyone to see. It doesn't matter. And, it's not really salesy. That's not our pitch on social media. It's more, this is who we are. This is our process. And this is how we run our systems. And there's an attraction there to the client, right? And that allows us now to get the projects that we want, to have the budgets that are going to allocate that final design that we're talking about here, right? That's going to not only photograph, but create a place for our customer to have this amazing, resorts lifestyle that they can live in forever. So,
right. And I'm sure working with a company like Aft and Brad, that's a great opportunity, right?
No, not really. Yeah, it is. It's amazing for sure.
So I'm getting at is there's a lot of people that are good at what they do a long time ago, and they didn't have social media to put that out on. They just got to be a good craftsman in their area, and that was it. But now, if you're good at what you do, you get to highlight it, and then you actually get to network, and these big opportunities can blossom from that.
Well, there was no platform, right? So there was no platform to showcase what you were doing unless you were maybe nationally published at some point. But to that point, I mean, you alluded to this, is that, when you think about social media, it's a way to gain business and trust without, hard soliciting people. So when I first started AFT, there were certain architects in town that I'd reach out to that wouldn't return my call, right? I'm fairly young, new company, couldn't get a response from them. And so I started putting out our content, right, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and these other platforms, and it caught their eye, where it's hey, we want to be part of this brand, part of AFT, and so it exploded. So it's an easy way, it's a non-salesy way to kind of, get out there and build that brand on that platform.
Do you ever second guess yourself? Because I notice you talk about some touchy subjects that don't have anything to do with architecture. do you just say, this is me and this is how I feel, and I'm just going to talk about it?
I do, yeah, and especially, I mean, from COVID to racism to a lot of things happen, and I feel that, you know, if we have platforms, I mean, I think that all of us should stand up for certain things. I'm a believer in that, but at the same time, I mean, I think there's always second guessing because you're always going to be in the spotlight to some extent on social media. You know, even, you know, it's not like we've been perfect. I mean, we've had customers where we made mistakes. We've learned from those. You know, I feel we're a much better builder today than we were 7 years ago. But it's just about being out there and being honest, right? I mean, I'll do YouTube videos about the mistakes we've made on certain projects, and you know, it's a way for our customers to kind of see, hey, it's, you know, this is a process, right? We're learning together, but we're a lot better today than we were before. So, you know, I would always say put out good content and good conversation, and it'll build.
Yeah. Do you think more of your YouTube videos are for the trade or for like homeowners to get a glimpse of what it's like working with you?
You know, that's a good question. I think it's both. I found that a lot of our customers do listen to the podcast and do watch YouTube, which is kind of funny. So they do watch all those YouTube videos.
Because the videos are short, and
they're short.
That's why I started to think, I'm like, that's cool, because a lot of architectural building videos are like 30 minutes long, but yours are anywhere from like 2 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah, 2 to 5, 2 to 6. It's easy consumption, right? You know, what I found is, you know, and this is kind of just a global mindset here, but the value of social media is being on every platform, right? You're going to have a different demographic on every one. So my demographic on LinkedIn is much different to Instagram, to Facebook, to YouTube. And so you're capturing different eyes on those. And it all drives back to analytics. So like YouTube's really good because, you know, if someone's searching ICF house, right? ICF construction, you know, AFT Construction's YouTube video on ICF will come up. And so it's that analytics that's driving people to our website and our page. And so YouTube's really good at that SEO content, you know, that search engine, which is driving those eyeballs and leads. And that's what it comes down to, right? And so that's a big part, but it's also education. You know, I think all of us trying to be a thought leader in our industry for our market, it just opens up different opportunities, relationships, vendors, you know, ambassador relationships with different brands. And so it just, which creates value for our customer, right? At the end of the day, we want them to hire us because we're bringing them value. And by having those relationships, you know, those platforms enable us to have those. So,
right.
Yeah, I think it's awesome you show like the mistakes and things too, because then you're not just showing a highlight reel. I think a lot of times social media becomes this highlight reel of all the nice, perfect things, and people have a misconception or misunderstanding of how it actually works or how you become someone as big as yourself. Like, you know, everybody makes mistakes, and if you show some of those and show some of that learning process, then it shows how real you are. You know, you're not just this person that somebody can't achieve.
Well, what's funny is I'm sure Jeremy and John will attest to, I mean, this industry is like it's mistakes every day. It seems, you know, we don't want to use the term put out fires because we should be organized not to do that. But the reality is that there's challenges every day on every project. We're dealing with handcrafted stuff. It's labor intensive, you know, and you know, the trade labor force out there is challenging in some ways. And so there's mistakes that happen. It just, that's part of our industry, but it's how, you know, it's how we manage those. So.
Yeah. If you never show them, then somebody thinks they get their contractor's license and then everything's going to be perfect.
Well,
far from it.
You're setting that expectation for the client too, and it's smart for him to do that. And my contracts have about 60 different line items they have to check off on, which is basically types of mistakes that can be made or things that can happen during the build to expect and to be aware of it. But to put it out in content, people are going to watch a video that he puts out real quick, 30 seconds on Instagram talking about a certain thing compared to a contract where they're just going to go and click all the DocuSign things because they don't want to read any of the line items. So it actually kind of takes the edge off of the build because his customers are watching, and when they do see that he makes mistakes, it kind of sets the precedence for we're not perfect, but the end result is going to be as close to perfect as we possibly can get there. But it's construction, and bombs are going off left and right, and you're just doing your best to keep it all together and keep it organized. And in the end, if you have a good team and good communication, then the customers really shouldn't get frustrated with you making mistakes. They should know about them, and you should be telling them what you're doing to make it right, and that, you know, we're probably gonna have another one, but we'll make it all right by the time it's all done.
Yeah, and that's what you want, right? I mean, those are the things that we teach our kids. It's like, you're gonna mess up, something's gonna happen, but what I care about is that you're just honest with me. I'm not gonna freak out. Like, I'm gonna be proud that you're just always gonna be honest with me, and that's what everybody wants. You know, if you're building me a house, like, yeah, you're out and there's going to be a haboob, You know, there's shit. There's a million things that can happen. Something will. It's like a part of the process. Like something will happen.
Well,
It's just a matter of, are you going to be honest about it and be like, all right, this is going to set us back a couple weeks because now we need to like do something to make this right, or we can just build on top of, you know, whatever the rain has done to this job site or whatever it may be. I'm not going to act like I know, but
well, a lot of it's just the high-end details that these architects are coming up with, and even designers like John and myself for outdoor living spaces. But there's stuff that's being designed that just everybody wants to design and wants something built that hasn't been seen before. And so when you're applying certain materials in a new way, or just trying something structurally crazy, there's things that you're going to learn, and usually those mistakes you make are going to make you better at, you know, that detail was going to look like in the first place. You found a better way to do it because you made a mistake, and when you go on to the next one, it's going to be effortless to pull off that detail. But that's what we come up against a lot, is certain transitions, certain details, and how to make things look good from a 2D plan to a finished product that's usable. It's not always perfect, and we have to go through those mistakes in order to learn and
I'm sure that's what makes you good, is you just react so much faster to any of those issues that happen.
Yeah,
where
it's
somebody
problem solving. It's
Yeah.
problem solving, and you should take joy in that problem solving and trying to make something work that someone had an idea on how to create something, and you're just you're perfecting it. But to get upset, to get nervous, to get worried because you built something and it didn't work out, that's not serving any benefit to anybody involved. Your crews are going to lose faith in you. Everybody else is. You need to stand out there. You need to work on it. You need to discuss it with the client. This is what we're doing to make this right. This is how we're going to pull this off. Are you good with it? And then, you know, instill that into your crew, how you're exactly going to pull it off and do it. And when you do something like that, it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah. And, you know, we were talking yesterday, and I'm going to ask you guys, because respect your opinion on this, is that, you know, we come from having a pool service business. And, you know, we've talked recently with Eric from Arenda, and we were talking about some of the issues that different pool companies have. And we started thinking about some of the smaller things that are actually big things. And that's, you know, putting too many chemicals in pools. And we started thinking that it's not that easy to address a problem within your business and go to the drawing board, figure out what the solution is. Or maybe somebody's told you what the solution is, but distributing that to your whole entire team and changing things, like how do you run into a problem within your business, and how do you change it for the better so that it doesn't happen again, or you're less likely to have it happen again? Like, how do you run into that problem where, like, you know what, this can't happen anymore. We need to figure out how we're going to make it better. And you come up with a solution. How do you implement that? Because at the end of the day, like, your team is just as good as you are, and they still got to go out into the field and do the work, where you're going to be with them maybe half the time, whatever it is. But, you know, what is your opinion on that?
That's a great question. So what I'll say is, from our side, I mean, it's really important to do an autopsy, right? So at the end of a project, you know, you sit down with your entire team, everyone from assistant super all the way to senior PM, right? And you go through everything that went good and bad on the project. But even more than that, it's developing those processes. So something that we've really spent time on are the trainings and processes. So we've been very clear on what role each player has in our company, and then what their job scope is, right? They know exactly what's in their wheelhouse. And then as a mistake happens, or as an issue happens, which we've had plenty, you know, the first thing to do is to notify everyone, we just had this issue at this project. Here's why it happened. Here's the oversight that happened, you know, the lack of communication, whatever it was. And we need to fix this as a company. So that memo goes out to everybody. We track it. We meet as a team every 2 weeks in our production meeting, and we'll go through that. So everyone's learning firsthand through other people the mistakes they had. One of them was a height cert. We had a height certification that was missed, and there was some other work that went in there. And so, really long story, but, you know, we had to go back and rebuild, you know, the trust system. Well, that's never happened again, because everyone was firsthand seeing this take place. And then we'll do training. So when we're in the field every 2 weeks, like we just had a strap and shear training on one of our projects, you know, it's at frame stage. And so we, from our junior superintendent all the way to our senior, they all had their iPads. They all had certain aspects of the strap and shear inspection that they had to identify, you know, from nailing patterns to shear walls to anchor bolts. And they were responsible to go through and make sure everything was there. And so what happens is you just have to make sure that that training's happening internally, that you're doing the autopsy, you know, you're really, at the end of the project, you're going through it to make sure everything, good and bad, is documented on paper. And then it just helps train everyone.
So it seems like it'd be really important, obviously, to have
Well,
like
so
a
we have-
like a hierarchy chart.
So yes, to that point. So we have a hierarchy chart. Everyone knows kind of their position, and it's not a status thing. It's more just who's responsible for what. And then in that hierarchy chart, depending on what your title is, they'll have a defined scope, which is in their defined scope of work. And then we also have live working documents, right? These are documents that have to do with building a custom home, building a commercial building, doing a TI. Everything's built out from schedules to templates to everything. And so any one of my team can open up and they know exactly, they've been in these meetings enough that they could go run a home because everything's documented. You know, we have 6-7 page working live documents that have all the information, all the good things and bad things that have happened on a project. And, you know, if we're awarded a custom home and now we're working with Jeromey, what's the first step, right? You get your water meter, you know, you schedule your tree relocation, and it's just every step by step, all the way to undergrounds to slab, all the way through completion, furnishings, photography, right? So it's very clear. And then that's how you can fix, you know, those issues that have been happening, because now you put it back in your live working doc.
Right. So these are like SOPs that are built internally.
Yeah.
So
we've
when
been
you
building
take
for
on
7 years.
something new, like working with Jeromey, it's like, okay, this is a new element to our business. We're going to create an SOP so that when a client wants this style pool built, or we're just dealing with, you know, Jeromey and his company, we're going to pull this SOP and we're going to just follow it, you know, step for step.
100%. And in fact, as an overall company, you know, we have a SOP. It's like a 180 page document. That's just our SOP as a company. So everyone's speaking the same language, right? So when I'm out there doing sales or business development, it translates all the way down to our company culture, to how they're communicating with Jeromey and John out in the field. And even more so, just going back to the system, saying, you know, this, which I know we'll talk about, is pool plan, right? You know, one of my project managers, I come from a commercial background. He does as well. And so daily logs, right? Doing daily logs and really understanding, documenting, you know, the weather and tasks that are done that day and who's on the job site. You know, we can reference 6 months ago. I can look on any project and know exactly who was on there and what was completed that day. So that just allows us to be more refined, to track job costing, to track our process and how long the schedule's taking.
And I think the homes are obviously different than, you know, the pools, because there's so many working parts in a home, from the takeoff stages, the getting materials figured out, to just, I mean, through the whole process of all the subs you have to have come back for 3 to 4 to 5 different phases. And
Especially like Thielen, man.
yeah.
Like 13 bathrooms.
Yeah.
He's doing one with the lazy river and fire coming out of the
So
pool.
I'll be there for a while, but you know, we do everything with subs, from excavation to shotcrete. You know, I lay out every pool with my construction manager myself on purpose. It's not because I'm cheap. It's because it's more expensive for me to actually go out and lay it out than pay a guy to do it. It's just, you know, it's my time to introduce the project to my team. But, you know, we get it to shotcrete, and then after that, I'm doing it with all my own team. So I'm not hiring out subs. And so when a mistake happens and we have to fix it, it's usually internal. I mean, most mistakes are internal from bad communication or whatnot, but we've learned on our end, it's just plan development. And as a pool builder, I mean, we have even our simple projects. When I say simple, you know, around $150,000 project, we're 6-7 plan sheets on a swimming pool. And typically you'd see one 11 by 17 with the equipment schematic behind it, but we have entire construction sets that are colored plans with showing where the pool water is, and it really helps explain everything. But then our details have to get better. So if we go to build something that has a detail how I drew it up, and we go out there and build it on site, and that detail's not working, and my guys are saying, you know, I did it the way you wanted to, and it didn't work, then we, you know, figure it out, draw it on a plan, and take it back to CAD, and we address our details and make sure that we put notes and call outs on plans, and then we mass email and meet with all of our subs to show them how it's going to be done from here on out. If we are using a sub on a project, like from the excavators or steel guys or shotcrete guys, but we have to hands-on go out there and show them it's not just, hey, look at the plan, this is what you're doing. You have to really drive it home by going out there and showing them on site how to do it and why you're doing it the way you're doing it, so they understand it.
Well, you hit it on the head, Jeremy. I mean, you're talking about the investment in the front end, right? About planning. So there's a cost involved for you to be out there. There's a cost involved, you know, for time and planning and commitment, but you're going to save dollars, right? Because now you can execute. You're not going to have mistakes in the end. And that's true for everyone, you know, that's under your umbrella, that the more you plan and spend that time up front, the quicker and more accurate the pool will be executed.
If we have a good set of plans and our shotcrete, if we get to shotcrete and we've met every single detail on our plans that up to that point of how those things are supposed to be done, our crews can literally build our projects without us even going back out there. They've been with us for 10 years and they can finish the project. It's just us taking the time on the front end to hold hands with all the subcontractors, because these guys work for 30, 40, 50 pool companies in town here. Mm-hmm. And they're great subs though, and they're the most expensive subs that work for all these people. But I mean, you have to pay money to have people that are going to be willing to get out of their tractor when they're digging and do something on the end of the pool that, a typical excavator is not going to want to do, or whatever it might be. But you got to find the subs that are willing to do that work for you. And it takes a lot of training them on site, because they're going to want to come in just like how whoever pool company they were digging for before. Just do this, just do that. Don't worry about plumbing trenches. Don't worry about this. Just get in and out. I got a schedule to meet where we're standing in a hole with them and checking walls and checking our structural engineering, that they're digging the floors with the right thicknesses, because it's not a standard 6-inch pool floor or whatever it might be. But, you have to spend that time with tape measures and everything, with the steel guys, with the plumbers, where every pipe's going to come out. If a wall is going to have an angle on it, then the pipe needs to be perpendicular to that wall. Drains, if you have straight drains, you need those things to line up in the bottom of the pool. If you got a square pool, rectangle pool, your drains better be perfectly straight, parallel, perpendicular, so that when it's done, you're not looking at a crooked drain. And so once you get that in concrete, usually everything just goes on top of it. It's the makeup. You get your block thrown on there, you get your tile, you get everything waterproof correctly. So it's really those beginning stages. And I'd have to imagine it's probably the same with a house, and getting everything through the floors correctly, then getting to framing and making sure all that stuff's exactly as it needs to be, and everything finishes up.
And I think with like Jeremy's processes, with those beginning stages, the subs that he uses are incredible, but I think the knowledge that he has and the education that he has, a lot of the guys that do the work with him really appreciate what he's also teaching in return. Like, there's proper ways of doing plumbing, the right way, but then there's, you have different ways of showing them things that you've learned along the way that they pick up on, or even with excavating and doing all the other stuff. I think what you bring to your projects on that front end, you're just not relying on them to do all that work. I think you're bringing a lot of added value that they're absorbing.
Well, stuff is there's a lot of super high end and crazy details, mm-hmm. like we talked about. And so when you're doing something like that and you're expecting a contractor that works for standard pool builders to come out and pull it off, it's in your best interest to spend a lot of time with them, but they'll also set up the shotcreter while you're excavating.
Yeah.
What is this guy going to need by the time he gets to shotcrete to make his life easy? Is he going to have steel sticking 4 feet up in the air and he's going to have to put pegboard on it, or is it going to be hard formed walls that he's going to be able to shoot against? Is there going to be plumbing in the way, and where the plumber is going to run? So it's you have to think of all the people involved, not just the person you're out there talking to, but how you're going to make everyone's life easy dealing with a super hard detail that nobody wants to build in 120-degree weather. And so it's just trying to make it as easy as you can while you have a smile on your face, telling them, don't worry, this is easy. We're just going to do it this way. Everything's going to work out perfect. Just keep on going, and buying them lunch or whatever it might be. Yeah. But it's that prepping stage and getting people to that solid concrete, just like I said with building a house, getting it to framing. You better hope you have everything worked out by that stage, because it makes life a lot easier for everybody if it is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's all good stuff. Here at Pool Chasers, we're all about sharing information so that you can become even more knowledgeable pool professionals. The folks at Pentair get that, and to show their appreciation, we invite you to enroll in the Pentair Partners Incentive Program. This flexible and simple program rewards you for your loyalty, starting with your very first sale of Pentair equipment or systems. Not only that, but being a partner gives you immediate and exclusive access to programs and training events, all which are developed to help drive even more business to your door. So to start earning rewards, visit pentairpartners.com or click the link in the write-up below. Appreciate that. Let's move on a little bit. Brad, what are the responsibilities of a general contractor or home builder on the job?
That's a great question. The general contractor should really be the organizer of the entire project, right? I mean, these projects are very complex, especially some of the ones we're working on. Most of these homes are. And so the general contractor really needs to be educated and understand all the building practices, right? They need to understand details. They need to understand, thermal and water protection and, proper ways to flash and wrap a house. All those things are really important. And then, so they need to have a good surface knowledge of every trade that's involved in that process. But more than anything, it's the organization, communication, the safety, the quality, all those things that go into it. And so Jeremy was talking about this, just allowing to be more prepared so that his subs or his people working for him can be profitable and expedite their process. It's the same thing for a GC. I've seen, having worked for other companies throughout my career, that the GCs that are unorganized, well, now you inhibit your subcontractors from being profitable, coming in and getting in and out, right, and being organized and documented so they can perform at their top capabilities. And the GCs that are really good at that, are really good at creating value for the subcontractor base, well, now in turn, you're going to get better subcontractors, people that are more prone to answer your phone call and show up when you need something. And so the GC needs to be the one running that project. They need to be on site. They need to be understand all the details and specs, and then managing everyone to make sure that everyone's working at full capacity and expediting that project.
Yeah, and these aren't normal project managers or superintendents. I've worked with a good number of his guys now, and it's just a different level. It's the mentality, it's the culture that he brings to his company. Everybody's just always happy. We went out to lunch the other day with 6 of us, and it's just everybody's happy, man. Everyone in the office, every time you go in, I walk around to every office and say hi, and everybody's got a smile on their face, and he creates a crazy culture. But the project managers are heavily invested. If I need something in the field, have a quick question about whether something's been done and I can get there, I can call their superintendent, and he answers his phone every single time. And tells me where they're at. And if I need something more in depth that has to do with contracts, I reach out to the project manager who's in the office and also in the field, and they get back to me immediately with whatever I need. So they're super dedicated to the company. You can see it when you see them, when you talk to them. Again, everybody's smiling about being in the construction industry, and it's not normal, and it's a good not normal. Because it's just, I don't know, it's been good for me. Communication's great. Everything we ask for gets done. And it's a breath of fresh air for sure. So I can imagine his customers. I'm looking forward to finishing one with him. Yeah. We have a couple we're getting close to finishing.
We have a few we're close to, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. And I know all of his clients. That's what's crazy is most home builders I worked with, I didn't know the people until I was teaching them at pool school. And they're telling me how much they didn't like the home build and the pools and what they wanted. And I'm like, well, it's nice to meet you guys. Where I've already built relationships with Brad's customers through the whole process. And so when I'm going to hand it off, it's going to be a good pool school because we already have a built relationship. They're going to trust everything I'm saying, and I'm going to be able to walk through and hand it off and do that with pride and with people I know and build a relationship with now.
And we do that. I mean, it's really important to integrate, right? So like Jeremy will integrate them in the front end with all of our clients. So I mean, I could, without giving our clients' names, I know 6 of them right now you've met with already, either at whatever stage of construction we're at, and some of them having broken ground, and you have a great relationship with the customer. So that's really important because that communication is really helpful. And then it all goes back to culture. I mean, when you're thinking about hiring just anyone as they're looking at their company, experience is really important, right? We all need experience in our company, but more important than that is company culture. And so when we hire, it's hire slow, fire fast. Like you got to have the right people, that have the right mindset. And, so as we're looking at hiring people, do they fit the culture? Do they fit the communication? Are they pleasant? Are they going to communicate? Are they going to pick up the trade partner's phone calls? Are they organized? Now, doesn't mean they're not going to make mistakes, as we talked about, but, is their base and their mindset where it needs to be? And that's what we're targeting, right, for our culture, because that's how we're trying to change what we're doing with our partners. I mean, the more that they're successful and they enjoy working with us, the better it's going to be for us and our clients at the end of the day. It just makes construction's a tough industry, and it's just going to make it easier for all of us, at the end of each day.
For any pool builders listening to this, throughout the country, what are some things that you should be looking for in a GC or a home builder? Say you're a pool builder and you have goals of working with a company like AF Construction. What should you be looking for in a GC on social media. There's so many things that, people can put online that might not always be 100% truthful, but how can you vet companies like you?
Well, one thing I think going back to the social media thing, one thing that's advanced at is you'll see that a lot of the companies nationally, even if they're not as big, those that are on social media, they care, right? So if you're on that platform, you're going to be exposed and you're going to have critics out there. So you're already willing to take that level, that jump, if you will. So that's a good place to start. And then every area is different. That's very similar. I get that question with the interior designers. Well, how do you find a GC that loves to work with their interior designers, right? That doesn't just want to be the male chauvinist or like stomp on everything and actually listen to us. Like that's a problem in our industry. So it's the same thing. You need to find people in your area that have that reputation and culture. And it's just like Jeromey did, you interview, right? As you're sitting down, it's the same thing I do with my clients. When I'm sitting down with the client, there's no question I want every job, but there's an interview. It's not that they're not just interviewing me to hire me for their build. I'm interviewing them as well, because this is something I'm essentially going to be married to for 2 years. So how are they going to treat my staff, myself, my team? And that's really important. So the vetting side, you need to find a way, to build these relationships, whether networking events or through social media with different GCs in your area, and target certain ones, support them, like John had talked about, where you could connect to someone on Instagram or LinkedIn, and instead of saying, hey, Brad, I'm a pool builder, I'd love to do business with you, take 6 months and start building that relationship, start commenting on all my photos, start liking everything, message me, hey, I love that you're doing this. It's just, hey, I'm supporting you for 6 months. And then that relationship's been built where I can come in and say, hey, if anything comes up, would love to work with you on something. It's a lot softer delivery, right? What drives me nuts is someone on LinkedIn that will just connect with me, and then 2 minutes later I get a DM saying, hey, I'm here to sell you this window or whatever. So, there's the interview process. It's finding people with that same culture. And honestly, a lot of companies, based on their website, based on their portfolio, you could talk to different architects, you could talk to designers about GCs. Hey, if you see me tagging, PHX or Candelaria, my trade partners can call them, hey, how's it been working with AFT and Brad and the team, right? So that's how you can kind of backdoor some of that communication too.
And for you anyway, do you actually manage your social media? Like if I DM your inbox, am I getting...
You do, you get me. So I manage 100% of our social media. So everything from Pinterest to House to LinkedIn to Instagram, YouTube, all of it is, I run it all. So
I don't know how he does it. I've watched him do it and I don't know how he does it.
It's impressive.
It's busy. It's super busy. But the one thing I'll say is that it's valuable. Like it's so valuable. I mean, that's what's built our relationships with our trade partners, our team. And again, it goes back to the process. I have a great team. I have great people. They know what they're doing. They've been trained. I've worked with them. We've really executed, their roles, and they're a part of that. And they love to be part of, they even see the value. I mean, social media, they love going on and seeing the comments and support and national recognition and certain things. So they're part of that, right? They're part of the fold, and they're building that themselves. So it gives them something that they can be appreciative of at the end of the day.
It's like what you asked about tagging the right people and how we always do. I'm not worried anymore about people stealing our design details like you mentioned. That used to be on the forefront of my mind about 4 or 5 years ago, but not anymore. And I'd rather get the people that are supporting us with products, like Island Stone is a big one that I've been putting on a lot of my projects because they have a lot of beautiful stuff. Traeger and different products like that, but it's the stuff that, is going to work well for the clients and they give great support. You really want to give them a nod, which in return gives you one too. But I think it's important to always call out those people and tag their companies if they're working for you, if they're did the shotcrete or whatever it might be, to let the rest of the industry know who's putting up this kind of quality work, and it makes them feel good that you're supporting them.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to play the game fair. I always speak that way because I don't think that I've ever played the game the way that you're supposed to on social media. And I blame that because I've been doing social media management for 20 accounts over, like 8 years. So you get like that burnout. But when you at your highest point feel the success of it, you start to understand like this really works if you figure out who your people are and you get to be the best version of yourself on this platform and be consistent and just get that word out. Then like, man, it's crazy what it can do for you.
Yeah, Brad and I have about the same amount of followers on, Premier Paradise and AFT, but there's a lot more activity that he has going on with his. And I'm scared to ramp up and do the kind of activity that he puts out, just because I don't know what will come from it. I can't get that many more in-house crews to build pools because I don't trust subs. But we just try to put out quality stuff and answer questions, and again, tag everybody with it. But I think if you're trying to grow something and do something and get your clients a bunch of information, I think Brad's doing it the right way.
Yeah.
With having constant little short snippet videos for people to get engagement with you and feel like they already know you before they even call you to design a house.
I'm actually surprised that you haven't done more, because we always told you that your episode, one of the original episodes of the Pool Kings, the way you're swaggered on the show, and you were just kind of like a little bit more, you were just more serious. You weren't like, hey, everybody. Like, you know what I mean? You were just like, like everyone's like laughing and you're just like, no, what we need to do is, like, you're just like, and I'm just like, dude, I freaking,
totally Jeremy.
I freaking love it. Like because that's your personality, and anybody that knows you know that is what you're going to get. Like, I've been to the tributary events, and the way that you're talking about these pools, like, that is how it is. But there's a reason why people, follow Premier, follow you, and they want to be a part of tributary or anything like that.
Paul, I actually have a bunch of videos saved up that we haven't released, and I started to get really busy after the Pool Kings thing. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but we really ramped up our Instagram, social media.
It's kind of a big deal.
And I was taking a ton of leads, and it was at the time when I wasn't really necessarily doing it the way that I even believe it should be done, with charging for your designs, vetting your clients. I was spending a lot of time designing and running out the calls at all hours of the day, and selling projects just to sell projects, because I thought we needed that to work, and trying to do 70 pools at a time. And that it turned out to be the biggest nightmare of my life, was trying to grow that way when you're trying to be a high-end detailed builder that does things right. Not saying the projects are all expensive, but just doing things right. It takes time, and it takes trained professionals like we have for our crews, in-house people that really understand the process. And I had to stop all that posting. We didn't want to put videos out. I didn't want to get any more attention drawn to where we were. I was thinking about how I was going to cut overhead and get back to the 30 projects a year, and dealing with the right home builders and finding, because we just weren't on the right path. And I felt if I was putting all this out, I'd draw even more attention to us and myself and get more leads. And I didn't want more, I was just in a kind of a different place. But we're thinking about doing that now, and putting out some of our content and doing some videos and doing some flybys.
You heard it here. Everybody DM Premier Paradise. It's time to get their shit together and start doing some more personal videos of Jeremy.
Well, I think the reason why I don't too is there's a lot of people that call themselves expert witnesses out there that want to just tear people up because it's not being done the way that they would do it, when it's with houses that I feel like everybody gives everybody attaboys and pat on the backs, and you guys are doing a great job. But when someone sees a swimming pool, there's just a bunch of sharks out there.
You'd be surprised. It's the same.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, so don't worry.
So it's what we have. And I think after, a lot of the detail work that we do and things we do, some of it I just don't want to show, because it took me 6-7 years of education and going through the educational programs with Genesis and all the guys and trials and tribulations of messing stuff up, that I don't want to give everything up. But it's that time for us now where I just don't care anymore, and we're going to start releasing everything and showing people what we do and how we do stuff on site while we're doing it, and be more of an information source for people, so that we could all start doing cool stuff.
Totally understand. Those things, that's what you do. It's a work of art, and there's this emotional connection that's tied to it. And sometimes that can be difficult for anybody to, because sometimes I can be pretty emotional about somebody breaking down something that I've worked really hard on. And that's why you keep things close to you. But at some point, it's like, you just got to say, fuck it. I'm just going to put it out there. And my job is to just get better and better, faster, with time.
I think that's how I started looking at it this year. Is I started seeing people doing all of our cantilevered roof structures and just different things. I'm like, man, can't you guys just be original? But I look at it as they were drawing inspiration the same way I did from someone else that did one, maybe in Kansas, like Kurt did a cantilever structure, then I brought it down here and put my twist on it. And it's pushing me to not do these things anymore and move on to something different. And, rather than being bitter about it and saying, why are you doing what I'm doing? It's just, why don't you take over for what I was doing? I'm going to do something different now.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's a good way to look at it.
Since 1979, Lion Financial has helped make backyard dreams come true nationwide. Lion Financial is a specialist in pool financing solutions, offering low rates, long terms, and unmatched customer service. Their programs offer your customers the best in pool financing options, with programs available for scores of 660 and above. Lion Financial's experience is unique to pools. That means it's not just any type of loan. They are a partner with both the homeowner and the pool builder until the project is completed, ensuring pool professionals are paid on time and in full. Also, it is absolutely free for pool contractors to partner with Lion Financial to grow their business. Lion Financial is committed to providing an excellent customer service experience, which means homeowners will never be charged a consulting fee or prepayment penalties, and pool builders will never be charged a swipe fee for accessing their own hard-earned money. When it comes to something as important as a pool and all the memories that go with it, work with true professionals who have your best interest in mind. With more than 41 years of experience specializing in pool financing solutions, why trust anyone but the experts? If you want to find out more, listen to our full conversation with Sarah Bess on episode 94 or click the link below.
So, got a question, Brad. At what point during construction on a residential property does the pool get brought up? So the first time that the client wants to talk about it, or you're bringing it up, like, are we going to do a pool? Like, what does that conversation look like? Because you're like the first salesman, like on site representing, the pool guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. So our process is very unique in the sense that, for whatever reason, whether social media or word of mouth or referral, most of the clients are coming to me first. And then I'm putting together the team, right? Architect, designer, and then landscape design, right? And pool. And so what happens is at the very beginning, we have a lot there with the client. I bring in the architect, and then we start designing. And then we're engaging the pool really probably the second, third meeting, at the very beginning, even in most cases before we even have ceiling heights and elevation done. We're working on floor plan, but then we're working on pool layout. All of my projects, every single one of them have a pool and landscape package, every single one. So and most of my projects in Scottsdale, especially, they're limited in the sense that there's natural deserts. So we don't have access to the pool. So not only do we have to design the pool from the very beginning, but we also build the pool at the very first phase of construction before we even start the house. I mean, Jeremy just finished one in North Scottsdale. Pool's done, shotcrete's in, he's done. We're going to start working on the house now, build the house, and then he'll come back 6 months from now and then start wrapping up his, everything else with the pool. So that pool design is at the very beginning with our client to understand, kind of their theme, their thinking, and then we integrate our team, between John and Jeremy and get that design going.
Right.
And budget. Get that budget figured out.
Well, the architects are usually just doing placeholders.
They are.
Certain shapes that look good with the home. And that's why it's important that Brad brings us in, because then we can discuss the different details with depths and finishes and stuff.
Yeah, and where it's important, like we have one right now, and it's just amazing estate. Like they have, and so it's very tricky, the pool that Jeremy's going to be doing. So you have this very linear, almost semi-modern looking pool, right? As you're looking down the corridors, you're coming through the house. But then the pool also goes on to like a more fun transitional pool with like a big rock feature and diving pool and water features. But that's off to the side because they want, the main one to be this very elegant high-end pool where most people are seeing it. So that's why it's really important to get our pool design in there, because this is a pool that's a few $100,000, right? That we have to coordinate and, and make sure logistically it's going to work, and then figure out pool equipment and pumps and everything else that's going to go into it. Where are we going to hide that, right? I mean, aesthetically, I need to hide that for my customers and for the final photography. So that we have to have, the other project that we're doing, Jeremy and John, that John's worked months on doing this rendering that maybe some of you have seen on social media, is that, they have this massive lazy river, and, there's like 4 pool system, with fire coming out. And so, Jeremy's like, well, we have to hide, to pump the lazy river, like we have to hide this out there. So we have to figure out vaults and stuff, and then integrate that into the design. So these are really important conversations to have before we break ground.
Right. When you're figuring out what the pool's going to look like in a client's backyard, is it almost important to, when you're building a home from scratch, figure out what the home's going to look like, the landscape's going to look like, the interior design, because you're trying to kind of mirror sort of the pool and sort of the things that are surrounding the pool? Do you want that sort of aesthetic to
Always
mirror, like 100%. The front, the middle, the back?
If we're doing a modern contemporary home, that pool has to be dead on a match. If it's transitional, I mean, the pool and landscape package is always going to take on the theme of the house and architecture. So that's why all of these parties have to be communicating and working together as a team on the front end.
Do you feel like building luxury homes, pools, that those clients have a better vocabulary of how they're describing what they want? Like, what do those conversations look like?
Well, some are good. Some have been through that process. Some have not. Some have seen a Pinterest picture or something on house that they want, that they reference, and which is fine. I mean, John and Jeremy can take those and run with them. It gives them a good idea, at least to understand kind of their way of thinking, and then didn't build from it. So some are a little bit more savvy and some are not, and we'll just fill in the gaps for them. Yeah,
it seems like you go to the eye doctor. It's like you put the glasses on. It's like, you like the style of house number 1 or number 2? Number 2. Do you like the pool of number 3 or number 4? Number 3. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
that same concept could go to that. Maybe they like a certain architect, and you'll get a homeowner that just says, this is the architect I want to work with. Here's my list of rooms and things that I need. I want to live in his design. And you might get a client too that's just saying, I want this guy to design what he would design if he had my wish list, and then walked away from it and lets interior design, furnish the house and everything. Some people stay completely removed, and some people pick out every single thing down to the grout color, and every little detail. It just depends on how involved they really want to be in the process. I think probably the more times they've done it, the more they remove themselves every time.
Yeah, it's true.
Just a little bit more.
Because it is crazy. I'm sure the conversation will get even more intense as time goes on, because there's never been more of a time where your home and backyard is truly your sanctuary. I've never felt more connected with my home and backyard than now. Like, it just seems like the only place I feel safe. Not that I don't feel safe, we're here, work and live in Scottsdale, but it just seems like this is the place I leave my family right now. The kids are staying home the majority of the day. Like, it just seems like that space is so much more important than ever. It's everything. You know?
We're seeing that in the influx of business that we have right now coming in. It's just not slowing down by any means for our industry, and I'm super excited about that, and feel a little bit lucky, but just going to keep grinding it out. But yeah, we're getting more and more leads and people we've been working with for a while that are finally just pulling the trigger and ready to go. I think our excavator is booked out till the middle of August right now.
Damn.
So we can't get a dig done, and our steel guy's like a week past that. And so we just sent him over like 8 projects, and I'm like, so can we get this on in 2 weeks? He started laughing at me. No.
All you excavators listening to this in your cab, make your way to
Don't
Phoenix,
call me.
Scottsdale.
Don't call me. I use my subs. I don't trade subs. They're willing to wait for, so, but it's definitely picking up, man. And the emphasis not only on the pool, but the living space around it is very important.
Yeah, I mean, we have a project with Jeremy right now in Paradise Valley where he's essentially rebuilding the entire backyard. It's a large piece of property.
It's an acre we're tearing out.
Yeah, it's an acre that he's complete, tearing out the existing pool, existing sport court, landscape, everything, and rebuilding the whole thing. And then on the inside, we're doing the complete conversion interior. And, they even have a gym room. We're doing a gym. We're doing a cold plunge. We're doing a dry sauna. So all these things where COVID hit, they can't have the gym. Well, now they have it at their house, right? They have the cold plunge, they have the sauna, and then they have the amenities. And then they have that indoor-outdoor living where now they can go outside and they're going to have, Jeremy's taste of living out there on the exterior. So that's, we're seeing a lot of that as well.
That's badass.
Very cool.
Yeah. So recently we watched one of your YouTube videos, Brad, and you had a video talking about pool plan meetings. And I love it because you said it, and then I'm like, oh, like said pool. And then you're like, pool, P-U-L-L. Yeah. And then you kept emphasizing it. I'm like, Good for him. I get it. This is not what I'm thinking it is, but
it still applies.
But it still applies. Can you talk to us a little bit about what a pool plan meeting is and how you use it for your projects?
Yeah, another great question. So pool plan, it's the secret of success as a general contractor, and I don't know really anyone else using on the residential side. It's a commercial technique. So, for example, when a commercial builder is building a hotel, like a high-rise hotel or skyscraper, maybe you're in Manhattan or a downtown area where it's very congested, there's a lot of coordination. Anyone that's done those structures, they understand. When I was in college, I worked on hotels, and there's a staging, right? There's how do you stage the project, and it's how do we expedite and the process and all the people on site, right? And as you're building vertically, and then you're trying to finish interiors as you're going up, it's very complex. So what happens is at a pool plan meeting, you'd bring in the front end trades, and they sit in a room, and it's typically an all-day conference on that level, and it's at a very high level that you're executing. Okay, John, how many days do you need, to get the steel structure in? Jeremy, how many days do you need, to come in and do the mechanical? And everyone's staging and committing to each other. So we've taken that same mindset and application into the residential. So what we do in our pool plan, we have 3 phases of pool plan. So when we start a project, we take the pool plan meeting to concrete, to slab on grade. Then we do another pool plan meeting to drywall, and then another one to finish. So it's phase 1, 2, 3. And what happens is, so all those front end trades, so going back to our Scottsdale example, everyone that's working on the home to slab. So that's grading, civil, pool, waterproofing, mason, right? Excavator. Like all these trades come and they sit in our conference room at my office, and we go through that schedule, and we'll get a commitment from Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy, we're going to have, first off, we'll get our trees, grubbed and relocated on the property. And then we're going to have our excavator come, and he's going to start digging the levels of the hillside. We're going to start phase 1 retaining walls, waterproofer. When you're going to come in and get it waterproofed. Okay, now we can start on phase 2. Okay, Jeremy, now it's going to be ready for you on July 15th. How long is it going to take you to dig the pool, and then do plumbing and shotcrete? And so everyone's committing, so they're meeting. So Jeremy, will be in this meeting, all of our other trade partners. So now they're not only, they know face to face who the concrete guy is, who the plumber is, who the electrician is, who the excavator is, and the pool builder. And so everyone knows each other. They're all committing. And then we put that in our schedule. So instead of me just building a schedule, saying, Jeremy, this is when you're scheduled, an excavator, everyone's committing to that, and they have to live by it. And what it does now, it allows everyone to work quicker, more efficiently, be more profitable, and it takes 2 to 3 months off my build schedule. And so it's just a better way, more camaraderie, right? Because everyone knows each other, so they exchange phone numbers. So if Jeremy needs to get a hold of the excavator, he can do that, from the house side, not his pool excavation. But, so that's the essential mindset of the pool plan. And it's taken a project where some of these hillsides may take 1.5 years. Now we can do in 15, 16 months. Well, that's real money for me. That's real money for my customer, client, for my subcontractors, right? I want them that when they look at the schedule, they know it's ready because we've all committed to that, and we're going to make each other accountable.
And we're getting it so far ahead of time too. He does these meetings not when they're breaking ground, but months ahead of time. So you're putting it on your schedule with your subs. So if you're busy too, you're holding those days. And it, best part of it was what he said is all the subs that are working on it along with the project managers are sitting in the same room. And besides coordinating schedules, you're also looking at the plans that are sitting there and maybe better ways to do something, ways to get into an area, ways to work together so that we're not stepping on each other's toes and causing, more problems and money loss rather than saving money on the job and making money on the job and just, just making sure everything's set up for each other's success. And that was really cool for me because I do that with my company, with my crews and stuff and my subs, but to see someone that does that with the whole entire team that far in advance. And then again, I have all their contact info. If I need anything, I have it. And the schedules might adjust by a week or so or a few days, but everybody's still following each other the same exact way. And then their project managers are communicating those changes, not days in advance, but weeks in advance. And so you can still keep your subs on schedule and perform.
Yeah, and it's been amazing to have someone like Jeremy on there because the thing is a lot of the times as much as the architects are really good that we work with, there's mistakes that happen, there's oversights, there's inconsistencies in each layer, each plan set, and those are being caught at this meeting. And then, our project in North Scottsdale that Jeremy just did, I mean, we had our pool plan meeting scheduled, and I think we're within 3 days of that schedule, as I checked with my superintendent. And so the advantage there is now on a normal project of this caliber that we'd be, framing in September, we're going to be framing in July and be done in July. So it's really expedited that.
Right. And you said something in the video about like the predecessor and the successor that I even looked it up, but maybe you can share a little bit about what that means exactly in a pool plan meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're building schedule, and I went to college, I studied construction management, and one of the big courses you take is scheduling, right? And so on any complex schedule, whether it be a home or hotel, you have to build a schedule, and it's predecessor, successor, which means, the critical path is the core aspect to any build. So an easy example for anyone listening, if you're thinking about a home, the most critical path is the cabinetry, right? The minute that I can get cabinetry in the house, well, now I can get template for countertops. I can get my plumbing fixtures in. I can now start on my backsplash. I can get flooring in, right? So that cabinetry is what you call a critical path. Slab, the foundation's a critical path. I can't get framers in there till the slab's in. Once slab's in, that's my critical path. So when you start thinking predecessor, successor, okay, my slab's in, I frame the house. Well, the minute it's framed, who goes first? You know why mechanical goes first? Why? Well, he has the biggest equipment, the ductwork, the air handler, everything going in the attic, the truss system. Hopefully this has all been thought out and designed where our trusses are going to go and we're not going to have beams in our way and everything else. And so that there's overlap. So what happens is, so the predecessor is the mechanical, he's going first, and then I can do a 3-day lag, and the successor is now the plumber, right? The plumber comes in, he does top out. He has to get his vent stacks through the roof. And then the successor after him is electrical. We get him in, and we can overlap them, but I have to give him a head start, predecessor, successor, and there's overlaps. And so that's the complexity of the scheduling that we do internally as a GC that integrates into our pool plan meeting. And that allows us to really dial in, okay, if we're overlapping and I'm committing my mechanical guy to get his ductwork in, I'm committing, my vent stacks in with my plumber and then electrical. Well, now I can get my roofer in. I can try in the roof. I can set my windows. I can get them flashed. I can waterproof the house. So all these things are super important, and that's really predecessor and successor just understands who goes after whom and in what order, and then of course to execute your critical path, because the critical path is what's going to dictate the completion of the home.
Perfect. That makes good sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. You guys have seem to find each other now, but I know we've talked but previous relationships may or may not have worked out. So Brad, what do you kind of look for when you're working with a pool designer or builder? And then same question for you two, but reverse, what are you looking for when working with a general contractor?
So we've spoken about this. I mean, it goes back to the culture thing, like Jeromey and John are super pleasant, like super happy. They're easy to communicate. Anytime I've reached out to either of them, they've been on it. Like I don't have any delay. What drives me crazy, if I reach out to a trade partner and I don't hear back for 2 days, and which does happen with some people, and I don't even care if it's bad news. If I'm trying to get a hold of you for something, I just want an answer. Like at least, hey, I'm in a meeting, I'll get back to you. Or I don't have an answer on that, I'll follow up, right? It's that lack of communication that just drives me insane. And so for what I look for is people that are going to communicate, do what they say they're going to do good quality, and are responsible, right? And we'll take care of them, they take care of us, and that's the biggest thing.
Nice. What about you? What do you guys look for in working with a general contractor?
Go first, John.
I mean, for me, I'm pretty fortunate because I deal more with the pool builder or the architects. In this case, interior designer. I mean, I was involved with a lot of different people on this one particular project, but as far as home builders, there's a few that I do work with, and it's all about communication. I mean, if I need certain things, and it's a lag, or they can't even get it from, their architect, it starts getting really confusing. My main job is to make, I would say this, my main job is to make these guys look like rock stars, whether it be the architect, like he's designed this house. I want it to look like the best house that he's ever designed, that anybody's ever seen. And the same as goes with the pool. It's not whether I'm designing it or I'm rendering it and bringing it to a 3D environment. I want it to make that person that's building it like blown away. Like that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to see. So the more openness to what I do, it helps me be successful. So if I can go to like a Brad that can supply me with everything that I need, and if it's lagging, he'll fight for me to get it. Or, with Jeromey, he's just he's very supportive as far as all that stuff.
What do you need?
I learned in this last process, I'm probably over anal as far as
but I'll say not over anal. I mean, honestly, what he's looking for. So when he's doing the pool design, you know, and he does this amazing rendering for us on this incredible project we're doing. It's one of our trophy projects. You know, John's asking for elevations of the house, right? He's asking for window details. What's the facade going to be? You know, we have 6 different elements of the exterior on this house, from precast to stucco to
Wood.
stone to wood to board form concrete. And so he's looking for actual physical colors, samples, details. Now he can go in his rendering and take it to the next level, right? Because now you're seeing the full 3D of the home with the pool and everything integrated. And so that's the details that he needs to facilitate through me, through the designer and architect.
Well, he just wants to put his best foot forward too, because he's dealing with a team of professionals and he wants to perform for everybody. And I know John well enough that he's not just going to snap out a quick pool studio drawing like I might. Even though I think they're pretty good, but John's got this SketchUp thing going, and he's just crushing everybody right now with it. But it's just the kind of person he is. He sees a lot of he charges for what he does, and he does not want to provide anything that, you know, isn't just picture perfect for him. So he just does his clients a good deed by making sure that he has all the information he needs. And if it takes 2 weeks longer because he had to wait for an architect to get him something, then so be it. You know, he wants to present this client with the finished product for them to see before anything ever even starts. Even though I'm just building the pool, he has the house done better than the architect did the house. You know, and there's just not a lot of people that would do that. So I wouldn't say anal. I think it's just you want to overperform for what you charge.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, man. You're pretty humble about it every time I talk to you, but I really think, you know, Jeremy's saying it, they appreciate what you do and the, you know, the amount of effort you put into it, because a lot of people don't do that, and I think that's very valuable.
I was copied on the email that he sent out to the client, and even though the client had to wait a long time to get what they got, I mean, everybody in the email chain, all the designers, these interior designers that are just renowned in Arizona and sought after, and architects and everybody else, were just, holy crap, man, you absolutely killed it. This is one of the best renders I've ever seen. And I was happy to see him get that kind of that kind of respect, because I know how much time it took him to do that, and nobody would really understand how much time it took him to put that together for that client. But he did it for I know he did it for me, and he did it for Brad also, not just the client. And so that was pretty cool.
That's badass.
Yeah, and I don't think I remember doing a lot of it either anymore.
It's all a blur.
It's a blur.
It's educational process.
No, it was a very good a good process for myself. But yeah, it's an incredible project. It'll be exciting to see it come to life, and watching 2 friends come together and being able to build it together that's like the prize. Sure. You know, the client, always having the client happy and be blown away is like cool, and then having the other parties that are involved be excited about how it came out is also, you know, it means a lot. But then knowing that these guys are going to be out there building it was the end result for, like, that's what the long-term goal 18 months ago, that was the plan.
Really cool.
Yeah, I guess when I'm looking for builders, I'm looking for people like, you know, Brad's company. I have a couple others that I work with that are a lot like him, almost on that level, but it's just people that want to communicate. They want me to be involved. They want me to know their clients. They actually want to work with me on a regular basis and not just get a quote and say, go build my pool. You know, they want me involved in the process, and those are the people I want. People that respect my employees, my trades, treat them good. People that pay their bills. That's really important too, because a lot of home builders don't want to pay their bills. But yeah, I have Brad's office asking me, "Do we owe you anything?" You know, and it's just it's absolutely crazy. But there are good home builders out there. They're not all bad. I mean, there's a lot of good home builders out there. It's just doing your interview process. Ask for resources. There's nothing wrong with asking someone who wants you to build their pool. Say, well, can I get some resources? Can I get some recommendations? Who are your vendors? Who was your last pool builder? Because I'd like to talk to him. You know, just go and vet the guy. There's nothing wrong in doing that. And if anything, I think the guy should have a little bit of respect to know, build a little respect for you to know that, well, this guy really thinks that highly of his capabilities, that he wants to interview me and see what I'm about. But I think that's something to do. Even call one of his old customers or But I think talking to his ex-pool builder is always a good thing.
Right. Very good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And Brad, I know you have a podcast. Can you talk to us a little bit about how often it comes out? What do you talk about on there?
Yeah, thank you. So it comes out typically every Monday, so it's once a week. And if any of you are searching SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, it's the AFT Construction Podcast with Brad Leavitt. And the whole intent, again, is it's not just construction related. Now, I do have construction guests on there, and there are, episodes where we dive into building science and, but we have a lot of designers on there. We have a lot of business executives. We have a lot of people from all aspects of the industry. I mentioned to you, we're going to have the CEO of Traeger on, Traeger Grills. And so the whole purpose of the podcast is to bring value. We dive right into conversation. It's not, so much, hey, what's your story? Very similar to how you guys run it, which I really like. It's just you dive into the meat of it to bring value to your listeners, right? And that's the intent, is that we're bringing on business executives and sales executives and marketing and social media experts and bloggers and people that have social media relationships with ambassadors. And how do you do that? How do you get value now? How can you be a brand ambassador for a different company? So all those topics are part of it, and we vary with our guests, male, female, all different backgrounds, industry experience, and all throughout. So that's the whole intent, is just to bring as much value as we can.
Right. Very good. I know we've been listening to it for a little while now, and it's been a really fun listen, and definitely learning a lot more about your world. So where can people get in touch with? We'll start with you, Brad.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. I mean, we're pretty consistent. All of our platforms, all of them, we're on all of them, even TikTok. So if you look up AFT Construction.
TikTok.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of TikTok stuff out there. We have some good ones, too. We have a couple that went viral out there. But, yeah, cool. If you look up AFT_construction or just AFT Construction, it should pop up. You can search Brad Leavitt, LinkedIn, Brad Leavitt. I run our LinkedIn there. So, and again, if any of you message me on those platforms, it's me behind. So, you're talking to me, and our website's www.aftconstruction.com.
Thank you. And Jeromey?
Everything for us is at Premier Paradise, Facebook, Instagram. And then, just email if you ever need anything or have questions. But we're pretty easy to get a hold of. Yeah, I don't know.
And what's your TikTok?
Trying to run under the radar.
I don't think you mentioned your TikTok.
Yeah, Jeremy's got a TikTok. It's great.
I have one.
He's like, I'm mostly a Snapchat kind of guy.
He's a Snapchat, but he has like a personal hybrid, right? His ghost account.
That's just me. That's me not being comfortable with my manhood. If I was more comfortable with it, I'd probably be able to do all that stuff. But I'm not there yet.
That's too funny.
What's your website?
Mine, it's premierparadise.net. Yeah, Premier Paradise, not Premier Pools, just premierparadise.net. And we have everything you need up there. If you need anything, you always feel free to reach out to me, like I always say. So just Jeromey at premierparadise.net, and I'm happy to help builders, service guys, clients alike. Just shoot me an email if you ever need anything.
Awesome. What about you, John? How can people get a hold of you?
I'm the same. I'm at On Demand Design Concepts, Instagram, Facebook, websites ondemanddesignconcepts.com. Phone numbers out there, always available to take phone calls, emails. Usually that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I get a lot of inquiries through Instagram. It's been a big source of just answering questions and things of that nature. So
yeah, I think you, out of most people we know, have the most relationships built through Instagram. It's pretty
crazy.
Cool. People slide into your DM all the time, man. You help them all out.
Yeah. He's modest about that, but he's the one who put it all together. He's a hustler, and he just likes to create a community and get to know good people, and he reaches out, and that's why he is where he is. He's not getting anything just laid down. He's put in the hustle for a lot of years on it, and he's got a great reputation because of all the relationships that he makes. Yeah. Right.
Well, we respect every single one of you. Appreciate you being on the show. This has been awesome talk. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Pool Chasers. Thanks for checking out this episode. Did you know that each episode has its own page on our website? This is where you can find more information about the guest and episode topic, as well as all the resources that we discuss throughout the show. To get to the webpage, click the link below. Also below, you will find links to the sponsors of the show, as well as links to follow us on our social media channels. On our channels, you will find some of our favorite clips and bonus material. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Our tag is Pool Chasers. We also have a Facebook group for the Pool Chasers community. Here you will find like-minded professionals all looking to make each other better. One last thing. If the episode has brought you value, please check out our Patreon page to support us. And if you could please rate and review the podcast, we would love to hear what your favorite topics are. Thank you for your time and your ear.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.